Okay. All right, start wrapping up now. Appoint your spokesperson. And where's my usher? Who's helping me with the roving mic? You can use this. Huh? Okay, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. It's time for me to hear from you. Please, feel free to choose whichever group you want to start first. I leave that in your hands. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you, I hope you, yes, I can see some eager people here. Very good, you'll be next. Okay, who's next? Good, I see that group there. You have a spokesperson, right? Okay, so tell us who and why. First, you can tell us your name also. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I ask for your attention. All right, if you can hear me, please clap once. Thank you. If you can hear me, clap twice again. Good, I hope I have your attention. Right, so I want us to respect this lady who's speaking, and let's give her our ears.
Good afternoon. Based on our further discussion.
Oh, you need to introduce yourself to us.
My name is Mercy Sitima.
Yes.
I am a business development trainer, and I'm a kingdom entrepreneur. So, based on our thorough, deep conversation, our conclusion was, I do not think one will, it will be in order of ranking in terms of the crowns that they get in heaven.
Okay.
Because whatever they did it based on how they were equipped to serve.
Okay.
And in their areas of strength.
Okay. Thank you. Who disagrees? We're not going to have a vibrant debate. Debate is good. Okay, we're going to have this table here, this group here, and then we'll go to the group with the lady with a beautiful pink suit.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sigu is my name, and I'm a food system specialist. Just to add on what the group agreed on.
So you agree?
We agree, but we also have an addition.
Okay.
If I was to rank, and we have agreed as a group, if we were to rank them, I would rank Mother Teresa.
Okay, put your mic just closer so everybody can hear.
Would rank Mother Teresa as first.
Okay. And why?
Clearly from the Bible, when I was hungry, you gave me food to eat. When I didn't have a shelter, you gave me a shelter.
Okay.
So, Teresa was really intentional in her missionaries.
In her outreach.
And what she was focusing on was, you don't have food, here is the food.
Okay.
You are naked, here is the cloth.
Okay.
You are homeless, I'm going to give you a shelter. I'm looking at the blind, at the lepers, and also those who are unwanted. First of all, we are making sure you feel wanted.
Okay.
When we go ahead with the spiritual nourishment.
Okay, thank you. Let's appreciate both the groups with a good clap as we go on the other side. But I want to provoke this discussion a bit. Where was she getting the money to give them food? Where was she getting the money to buy the clothes? Where? Yeah? So yes, the work was good, but who supported it? Just think about that as we go along. Is that okay? Wonderful. Tell us your name.
Hi everyone, I'm Jerry. According to I'm a business lady.
Okay.
According to our group, we have agreed on equal share for all of them.
Equal share for all.
Yes, but according to it all, I think God is into so much into quality, not quality, not quantity.
Okay.
So in whatever setup that they did, and they served God, they all receive an equal share because of the quality they give from their own platform.
Okay, let's appreciate them. Let's have 2 more groups. Yes, right here. And then I see another one there. Have I locked out anybody? I said it's going to be interactive, huh? So there's room. There's room for your voice. Yes.
My name is Leonard Nyamai. I'm a change maker. This group was quite interesting. I absconded. I will explain why. But yet again, it was divided.
Okay.
So on one hand, all of them. On the other hand, somebody felt Billy Graham. And on the other hand, somebody felt Mother Teresa. I absconded because I train on this content.
Absolutely. You're an interested party. Okay, yes, it is true. He trains on this content. Wonderful. So I see I see a hand over there. I see a hand over there. Anybody else left out? So we're going to have these 2, and then we'll take the conversation forward. Let's start at the back, and then we move to them. We close with them.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
My name is Cecile Kaindo. I am a student, Tangaza University College, Institute of Social Transformation. So in our group, we agree for the idea it is coming up for all of them, that diversity and connectivity of what they are doing. I think they have a right to go to heaven. But to our group, we are looking our current issues of Bill Gayan, what he was doing. Sometimes we look at politicians from far and we condemn them. We don't have time to assist them. I think it was a good job. When politicians, they have value, they contribute because they are the one making the policies. Then the couple, the last group, David Green and the wife, I suppose, is like that. So the idea that you have when people they have money or their business, they are doing business, they look like faith is nothing. So it's just my money and me. I can travel, I can go, I can do whatever I want. But the gospel value is there for them, what they were doing for assisting people, and it is a good one. At least Sunday to go for prayer.
Okay, so you're talking about the people who had money and chose to use it. So is that the 4th couple, David Green and Stuart Kathy? All right, let's appreciate them with a hand clap. All right, let's go here, and then we shall conclude there, and then we shall move forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicole. I'm a student at the Institute of Social Communication here at Tangaza. I'm happy to be here. Well, to answer the question, we've discussed with my group here, and we think the whole point is whatever we bring to the table, whether our skills, our talents, our ideas, it complements each other. We've come to realize that everyone there has something to give to the society, and we have appreciated, and it's still ongoing because of what they have founded. The foundation is really strong where they stand. But to shorten this out, I think everyone should go to heaven. And I'm not the
about the reward. So the jury is still out there for the reward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we came to.
Okay, let's appreciate Nicole's group. And in 1 minute, right there at the back, just a minute, summarize it, and then we shall move forward.
Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm Ezra. My hand goes to Mother Teresa.
Okay.
Why?
Yes.
Because, you can't talk to hungry people. Yeah? You can't talk to hungry people. First of all, you have to mobilize these hungry people, feed them, then you talk to them. All right?
Okay.
They can listen. All right? So
Yes.
I prefer that.
Welcome. Okay, thank you very much. Let's clap for him. So the jury is still out there. What I've realized about you as an audience is that you're a very accommodating audience. Huh? You want everybody to win. You think in win-win. Just based on what I'm hearing, clap for yourselves. What did our panelists say? Let's hear what our panelists said. What did they have to say as we move forward? Yeah, it's okay. It's on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kwame Makati is my name. I'm the CEO of Pinnacle Impact Coaching. I'm also a pastor at Karura Community Chapel. In our conversations around this, we saw the different giftings. And when we look at our faith, we all belong to the body of Christ. And a body has hands, others and legs, different parts of the body. And so we are asking ourselves, Billy Graham would not go to preach to the multitudes without somebody donating money to enable him to go. The lady in Ecuador, also the same. Mother Teresa, for her to feed the hungry, she needs a giver, somebody who is called to the, to the ministry of giving, to give so that she's enabled to go. So we are looking at it and also trying to imitate Christ and say, just come into, they are all in heaven. Under the feet of Jesus, we are all equal.
Okay. Let's clap for them. It is true. So actually the question that we are asking, we cannot play the part of God. That is my conclusion, yeah? It is not for us to reward them, but this was just to provoke your thoughts. And indeed, we do have different gifts, yeah? But there's a mindset here that we are looking at, and we are saying, why do so many people believe that you have to be serving in full-time ministry to do the work of God? All right? As entrepreneurs, you're here in the marketplace. What does it mean to be an ambassador for God in the marketplace? That's what we are talking about today. So, as you have rightfully said, each has a place and a purpose. So you are all right. Come on, clap for yourselves and celebrate yourselves, okay? So moving forward, we want to define kingdom businesses. What is a kingdom business? We define a kingdom business as an enterprise that is directed by the Holy Spirit and managed by a godly leader that meets spiritual and physical needs of the surrounding community in order to advance God's purposes. Yeah? I could repeat that. An enterprise directed by the Holy Spirit, managed by a godly leader that meets spiritual and or physical needs of the surrounding community in order to advance God's purposes. That is what we call a kingdom business. And at this point, I want to engage our panelists because in one way or another, you are leading businesses, enterprises, communities. What does it mean for you to be a kingdom business leader? Let's start with Jacinta over here.
Good afternoon. As you have heard, I'm Jacinta from Verona Urumasako. It feels good to be a co-creator when you're serving in a faith-inspired institution as an entrepreneur. Probably she asked how it feels. Faith-based institutions, they convene, members convene themselves. You don't go calling people to come and worship. But because there's that extra power, the superior power that has called them to convene to hear the word of God, then we are privileged to have that convenience, to use that congregation to meet that gap, other than praying, other than listening to the word of God, because we have heard severally and from the Bible that faith without action is dead. Where are our actions? So, Madam Yvette, as you have asked, it is a privilege, and we feel good when we are joining our Creator to make a change in these congregations that we are serving. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's clap for her. Thank you. Joram, tell us yours.
Yeah, for me, so I run a company called Sandbox, and we are a one-stop shop for just helping entrepreneurs to grow their businesses. So we aggregate about 35 different professional services under one roof. And then, we have entrepreneurs come and we help them think through their businesses, strategy, and help the businesses to grow. All of us as shareholders in Sandbox, we are believers and believe that we are running a kingdom enterprise. Although everything you may see publicly about us is a consulting firm. So if you look at the Sandbox brand and our public materials, the aspect of being a kingdom enterprise is something that we do not explicitly talk about in our marketing materials. And of course, and I don't know if we'll talk about it, that's something that we took a long time to deliberate before we decided on through the history of the business. It's been maybe from about 2004 to when we launched Sandbox, and it's the same organization. So it's been a long time deliberating what our role in the marketplace is, how we go about manifesting our faith in the things that we do, who we can work with, who we cannot work with, and just how we go about, displaying our purpose out there. And I would say from my point of view, over and above privilege, is that it's also very challenging. And I would say sometimes I feel like it's a heavy burden because we are representatives of Christ in the marketplace. And there are so many challenges on a daily basis for you to be able to, do your business in a way that when people walk away, they can actually say, we have grown and scaled as our business is actually growing outside Kenya, and we are going into countries and jurisdictions where they may not even have Christians, who could serve as the staff and shareholders of the entity in those countries. How do you go about that? So there's a lot of questions to answer as the business grows, but on the side of our faith, we incorporate all the principles in how we run the business and how we intend to grow it as we grapple with some of those issues.
Good, let's appreciate him. Thank you for being real. So yes, it's a privilege, and yes, it's challenging. All right, Kwame, let's hear from you.
Coaching, we believe in people. We believe in our mandate is to help successful people become more successful. We see everybody as a success because thus far, wherever you are, God has given you an opportunity to come through maybe high school, primary school, secondary school. There are things you have already achieved. So we come in helping you to clarify your purpose and help you map out a pathway towards achieving the purpose. What are the milestones on the road to you living your purpose? By answering this question, what does success look like for you as an individual or as an organization? And then help you to benchmark what you need to do to achieve that success, including the timelines. Coming from being a church worker, our motivation, and personally as the CEO of the company, it is, I call myself a pastorpreneur. So I give you another.
Pastorpreneur, nice.
Yes. We look at Paul in history, who can be working out there to know how to sweat out there so that they can come. Because all the congregants, they are working somewhere, and we're expecting them to bring tithe and offerings to run the ministry. So you are better placed as a preacher or a teacher, knowing how it feels to be out there. Then secondly, I also look at the church and we say your business, your business is your mission. Whatever you're doing out there, you don't have to be an usher in church for you to feel like you're serving God. Whatever you're doing out there, that's your mission field. And therefore, train people to know and to serve God wholeheartedly out there. And then lastly, from our faith-based perspective, we say church begins on Monday. Sunday is garage time. So Sunday we come, just like vehicles, we are serviced, and then we are sent into our businesses, our places of work, our careers in the market field, where we serve, we do church by serving according to kingdom principles. Thank you.
Wow, amazing. I hope you're being encouraged and provoked. I want to share a statistic just based on what Kwame has said. Did you know the percentage of unchurched, especially young people in Nairobi? No. The percentage of unchurched people. Any guesses? Well, as you think about it, I'm not going to remind me to come back and give you the answer. There are people who will never step into a church. And therefore, their point of contact is your business. And so there I affirm that your business is your mission. So, about, all right? And so we defined what a kingdom business is. So we look at issues that you've talked about very well, each of you in different ways. Your life purpose, your relationship with the Creator, your reflection of God's character. That's the third thing. Does your business have a life-giving culture? Have you ever worked in organizations where they're sucking the life out of you, you know? And for you as a business owner, are you giving life or are you taking it away? You know, life-giving culture. Wise resources of stewards. Wise stewardship of resources, I beg your pardon. What about disciple making? What about measurable impact? So next to each of every one of the tenets of the Kingdom Business Framework, we will share with you a little more. Some of the things that we do is we help entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs normally come up with a business plan, right? How we can grow, how we can be profitable, but we also help entrepreneurs on how to develop a kingdom business plan. Yeah? I did see her. I'm not seeing her now. Is Leah in the house? She may have. Leah, are you here? Anyway, she's one person who has come up with the Kingdom Business Plan. I didn't tell her about this before, but we help you come up with a Kingdom Business Plan. So we're going to look a bit at these, and then we'll keep pausing and interacting with our panelists. Is that okay? So, 7 questions, 7 aspects. Okay? These are questions that you ask yourself as an entrepreneur or as a leader in the organization that you serve. And the first question is, have I received affirmation that this business matches God's calling on my life? And then Joram said there are businesses we work with and there are other businesses we don't work with. So when you look at your business, you ask yourself, do I have the affirmation? You were created for a specific purpose. You have a specific personal calling. That's the first question, all right? And I will come back to that in just a bit. Let's go to the second question. Relationship with the Creator. As a leader of this company, am I growing in my love for God and for people? Listen to this. I may be tempted to use God instead of being used by Him. I may be tempted to use God instead of being used by Him. We help you to reflect about that and identify things that you're going to change. Am I remaining connected to Jesus as I run the business? I think I heard in a group back there that a lot of people, when they get a lot of money, they disregard God. But am I remaining connected to God and to His purposes as I'm growing in my business? So, that is question number 2. Let's look at question number 3. This is the hard part that Joram was talking about. A reflection of God's character. As a company, are we reflecting a balance of God's holiness, God's justice, and God's love in our words and actions? Where holiness, justice, and love intersect, in comes ethical decisions. So what is driving our decision-making capacity? And this is very important because when you look at the percentage of Christians they say we are in Kenya, we are what percentage? 80%, right? Where do we rank in the corruption index? Top 10? So there's a disconnect there. And we are just saying we are looking for leaders who will champion this change, right? And will stand up against corruption. Did you hear in the news 2 days ago about a high school girl who was shot in Kisumu because the policewoman did not get a bribe of how much? 100 shillings. Corruption is a cancer, and somebody has to stand up and fight it. Will you be counted? When you probably will maybe denied services or seemingly appear punished because you choose to go the right way and say, no, I will not give a bribe. I will not receive a bribe. Someone says, okay, I'm going to give you this business on condition that we share this together. Is it fair? Those are the things. And we can stop here for a bit and let's engage our panelists. Yeah, we know that this is hard. Do you have an example of a situation like that you faced that reflects this scenario, and how did you overcome it? Very random.
I think around the corruption stuff.
Around corruption, yes.
I could start because I've been in business for a very long time. And it has been a really long journey. I think in the journey of the growth of our business, that is probably one of the biggest challenges that we have persistently, faced. We are a consulting firm, and in many occasions we have to bid for work in the form of tenders to certain organizations. There's government, there's non-profits, there's corporate organizations. And there have been occasions where we have either put in our papers, gotten selected, and then, people start inviting you for side meetings to discuss how you are going to share the money once they award you the work. And I think that has happened maybe 2 or 3 times for ourselves, that it even just got to a place where there are certain organizations we don't bid anymore. But yes, we have in every situation said no. But in certain cases, very painfully, because you really need the money. Your business is doing badly, but you have to, stand for what it is that you believe in. And I think those are the times when it can become very, very difficult, when you're put in a situation that you have to, make a choice. On the one end, it could be very lucrative from a financial standpoint, and you really need the money. On the other end, your faith manifesting in this is that you're not going to be corrupt and you're going to show God's character. And so there have been quite a number of occasions. There are times when we've been looking for government certifications and they're not forthcoming quickly. So there have been quite a number. And I always tell people that I feel like our business grew so much slower because of persistently saying no to such situations. Yeah.
Wow, I want to take your last statement. I feel like our business grew so much slower because we said no. What would have happened if you said yes?
First, I would not be on this stage, or if I would be here, I would not be telling the truth. I would probably be in Paris or somewhere where the money can check in. But I've always thought there's always a price to pay for corruption, for not living a life of integrity. Because if you look at it on the other side, is that you're actually feeding your greed. You're saying that you can't depend on God to take care of you. You're saying that you're going to depend on your own strength and do things your way to make the shortcuts, to make things work, because God cannot come through. In essence, that's what you're really saying when you go the route of corruption. I would say, many years later, we have succeeded in many cases to a much greater extent than we ever thought we would. We've built an amazing company. And we've also built a reputation in the market. People know that we do business with integrity wherever it is that we go. And so despite the fact that the movement was a lot slower, I think God has provided. God has provided opportunities for us to also interrogate why we are here, what's our purpose, how we conduct our lives in the back end, and it's not just about accumulating material wealth and there's nothing else you're doing in life. It's about what impact are we having, even with that which we've been given as stewards over. And so that becomes a very real, conversation when you've gone for a period of time without money and you've said no to bribes and all sorts of things. You really get to interrogate what's the essence of life, and it makes you really depend on God to come through.
Wow, wow. Any addition?
I'll bring about the corruption of values that I have faced in my business.
Okay.
For we chose to brand ourselves as a Christian coaching company.
Okay.
And the market, I've lost business because of the name of Christ. Because ultimately, bottom line, it's God, fusing coaching with faith. And it was painful to be told, you're not getting this because of your faith. But it's a pain that I've embraced. It's a pain that I've learned from, and that has affirmed my faith in Christ. Scriptures say, what does it, or what benefit is it if you are to acquire the entire world and then you ransom, your own soul, you lose your soul to evil. And so I have faced it many times, but it has brought me to a place where I'll tell you, I'm a Christian coach. Give me the job or don't give me the job, because I stand for Christ in the marketplace.
Okay. Those who are projecting, thank you. Wrong slide. Okay, let's clap for them. Yes, absolutely. That's the right one. Okay. So, what was the first thing we were looking at? Let's do a recap. Life purpose, right? Okay. The third one is here. There's leakage, isn't it? Number 2, relationship with the Creator, isn't it? And number 3, reflection of God's character. And what I'm hearing, and I'll come to you, Jacinta, don't worry. What I'm hearing here is that we choose, when we say no to corruption, we choose to stand up and be identified with Christ. And it takes faith for that to happen, because there's uncertainty. On one end, there's a guarantee of nice, easy money, which actually is never easy, because there are conditions and strings attached, And the thing is, I think once you start bribing, they'll expect you to bribe all the time. So how do you stop? All right. So let's move on. So the first one is about you and God as a business owner. Then let's look at how you interact with your employees. Life-giving culture. Have you ever considered, those of you who run a business, that those who have been brought your way, those in your team, have been brought for a purpose? And the question that we're asking is, do my employees feel valued, accountable, and empowered to be able to pursue their calling? So it's more than just making money. It's about transforming lives. And there could be a mother who identifies her gifting and finds God's goodness through you as a business owner. So there's impact beyond the tangible. So we're talking of intangible. But if your employees can stand up and say this, then you can say that yes, we are part of a life-giving culture. All right? So something to think about. And I'm going to ask you, Jacinta, you work with a team. What do your employees say about you?
Quite a challenging question. Probably I'm working for a SACCO, a Savings and Credit Cooperative Society. And other than the employee colleagues, my other employees are the members that I'm serving. which are over 20,000. So, as you say, helping or doing what is rightfully from God's view, we are here to serve. So I look at it, probably I may not say what they say about me, but personally I know I do what is a call for my service. So the saying what and that, I feel satisfied when I give what is required to that my colleague, to that my member, irrespective of their status. When we talk of corruption, especially in our service industry, we are looking people in different levels, and that is where corruption is rooted. I meet Madam Yvette, I just look at her, and I've already done my mathematics. Whatever service she's coming to seek from me, I've already calculated what I'll gain from her. We lose the focus of co-creators with our God. So you are not supposed to praise yourself. That is something that I've learned over time. But I know deep in my heart, when we are serving people, we should serve them as if we are serving God. And you mentioned something earlier, that we should not use God for our business, for our services. Let God use us for that service that He has called us to do.
Wow, let's appreciate her. I hope you're getting very good tenants.
Can I just throw something in there?
Go right ahead.
Which is what I find the difficult part of being a kingdom business. I think it usually raises expectations amongst your employees that the fact that you're a kingdom boss means you let them get away with certain things. And when you talked about God's character, I think the side of God's character that people don't look at is the justice side. In my firm belief, if you don't hold your employees to account for non-performance, you're not showing God's character. God holds us accountable for sin, for doing the wrong thing. And so a kingdom business environment should not be one of laxity and mediocrity because you're not holding people accountable to high standards of execution. I think God expects it of us. Yeah.
I really like what you've said. Please, go right ahead, Kwame. Add on to that. Yes, let's clap. Yes, feel free. It's interactive. Yes.
Thank you. Additionally, if you're going to hold people accountable, then the question you asked, what do my team members, what story do they have of me? Some of them may not have a good story. Remember when Jesus was asking his disciples, what do people say I am? Who do you say?
I am.
Because even for Christ, when he was pushing for his mission, people didn't have, not everyone had a good report about him as he pushed for the agenda of God in whatever he was doing. Then additionally for me to have a great impact with my team, I endeavor to know the purpose, the dream of my employees or my team members. Having a session one-on-one with them and asking them, where are you headed? I look at my organization as a stepping stone for them to achieve their own personal dreams. And I tell them, you are here for a year, 6 months or 2 years. What is your own dream? Because I would want to see them empowered. And if I've realized, if you want them to give you 100%, show them you are also geared towards enabling them to achieve their personal dreams, and their time with you is a training ground to go for their goals. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Let's clap for him. You know what? It is so true. I like the fact that you're busting the myths, because they are myths. And a myth is that when you are a kingdom owner, or when you love God, you don't hold people to account. And sometimes the highest mediocrity is seen in kingdom businesses. Why? Because, there's grace. Yeah? Extend us some grace. It is by grace. But, excuse me, if we are going to reflect God's character, our God is a God of excellence. Excellence. And that is why you should not have spoiled children. you hold them to account and say, this is not good for you. So then you push for excellence. Push for excellence. Push for the dreams of your employees. Are you ready to let your star employee go and pursue their dreams, even if it means leaving you? The question is, who owns your business? Can you look back to God and entrust him to give you someone else if that season is over? Those are interesting questions that we ask when you are making a kingdom business plan. So let's move on to the next slide. And yes, wise stewardship of resources. That is something that is needed today. If you look at what's happening in the headlines, I like to correlate. They are just stories and stories and stories. But whatever resources you have heard, and being social entrepreneurs, some of you are applying for grants. Some of you have gotten grants, right? Some of you have gotten investment. How are you using these resources? Just as in DRC, allow me to tell you this story. And the World Bank was very concerned. This was by a hub owner. We call them ESOs, Entrepreneurship Support Organizations. And he said the World Bank was very concerned about the state of unemployment. And so they gave them grants of $200,000, $300,000. And you know what some of them did? They bought new cars and they got married. Are those wise stewardship of resources? What do? Does my company invest, spend, and give as if all our capital belongs to God? If you're to have a conversation with God and say, I gave you this, what did you do with it? Yeah? Remember that parable of those who are given the talents, the parable of the talents. Yeah? And actually, the master was God. I gave you this, and what did you do with it? Right? I gave you this, and what did you do with it? So what are you doing with what you have? Do you have a plan? How you spend your time and your money indicates where your priorities are. Are you having some revelations right now? How you spend your time and your money will show where your priorities are. So, as your business grows, are you being wise? Are you able to have a conversation with God? It's easy to be dedicated to God when there's nothing, isn't it? Absolutely. So, let's move on to the next two, because what we want to do is we want to give you time also to ask us questions. Does that sound like a plan? All right. Disciple making. This is something. I always say that the last words of a person are very important. These were the last words of Jesus before he was taken into heaven. Right? Matthew 28. He says, go ye therefore and make disciples of every nation. Right? Now, how can you be actively involved in discipleship making? Note it talks about discipleship and not necessarily converts. Does my company help people along their spiritual journey? The interesting question is, how do you help people along their spiritual journey? It could be just praying together, right? It could be taking time to listen and encourage. Remember, we talked about being the hands and the feet of Christ. That is discipleship making. So, before I go to number 7, what was number 5? Wise stewardship of resources. Good. And what was number 4? A life-giving culture. Great. What was number 3? Reflection of God's character. I like that. And number 2? Relationship with the Creator. And number 1? Life purpose. Okay, so it's coming together. Great. Thank you for those of you who are writing notes. You do have a point of reference. And finally, measurable impact. The question that we ask is that if if today your business died and was buried, would it be missed? So a friend of ours called Ray, he tells us that in America, whichever part of America where he was, when businesses would close, they used to have a wake, like a mashakaya for the business, and say, hey, here lies this business. It was good. It helped me grow from this level to this level. Hasta la vista. It was nice knowing you, right? Now, we know that the journey of an entrepreneur is not easy. And because the journey of an entrepreneur is not easy, there are some that fall along the wayside. Actually, John Maxwell in his book, Failing Forward, says that the average entrepreneur in the US succeeds on the 4th attempt. How much more here, where the resources are scarce? You get what I'm saying? So sometimes it's just a journey of moving forward. But the question is, will your business be missed if it closed down? And I'm going to be asking our panelists this question, but let me just break it down a little and say, is the world a better place because your company exists and your impact is growing? Is the world a better place? Yeah? I heard the story yesterday, was it Suzanne, who was talking about these young people and reaching out to millions through peer education, the gold. I heard that. Yeah? What happens if the mission is not achieved? You know? How do you carry this on beyond your lifetime and take it to another generation and another generation? How can your business or our business be a catalyst to fix broken relationships around us? That is what impact looks like. Is this business a channel of reconciliation? Can it be? Absolutely. And if you look at this, you interact with many people. You interact with the environment. You interact with community. You also have an interaction with yourself, and you have an interaction with God. Okay? So, my last question to the panelists, do we have any questions down here? You can show me by show of hands. Just give me an indication so I can know how to manage our time. I don't see any hands. Oh, no. Okay, if you don't have questions, then I'm going to ask you questions, okay? So, at this point, what impact is your business creating? Let's start with Jacinta and go all the way to Kwame.
Verona Rumasako is a society that has run within this community for over 28 years. It started with 15 ladies who were in a prayer group as a small Christian community. Over the years, it registered as a self-help in 1994 with less than 1,000 members who are basically Catholics. By the year 2013, it had 6,000 members who are now Catholic and non-Catholics. From a small Christian community prayer group, these ladies were just contributing 100 shillings to buy food for the households of the ladies. But later on, because of the gap and the desire to touch the lives of the communities, they end to have more recruits coming on board, not because of the money, but because of the desire to be met because of their needs. So I would say if Verona today was to close, it has left a negative impact of over 21,000 members who are relying on its management to grow their businesses, to grow their family social lives. Because Verona, in short, it has different membership, from the junior membership who are partly relying on Verona for scholarships. We have individuals members who are over 18,000, and they have different businesses. They have relied on Verona for training and education to bring up businesses. We have over 500 corporates, church institutions, and companies that are getting returns from Verona from their investments to grow their businesses. So the impact Verona will leave should it close, and it is not closing.
Amen.
It is a great impact because Verona has spread its wings within and without Kenya. We have members almost around the globe. So the impact is great.
Wow.
Spiritually, financially, socially. Verona is touching lives. Thank you.
Wow, wow. So if I hear you correctly, 21,000 people would be affected negatively. And so we're going to pray for the growth. But if you were to grow, how many people do you want to reach? How big is your vision? Give me a number. I'm pushing back.
I will not give in terms of a number.
But let's appreciate her. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, I'm glad she went fast, and it sounds like I should be a member of Verona.
Yeah, maybe the membership forms after this.
Yeah. So we measure impact just in terms of, one, the communities that we're able to build around professionals within the sandbox. And then beyond that, we do have a community that includes the employees of those professionals. And then beyond that, we have a community that now includes the entrepreneurs that we serve. In the 3 years the Sandbox has been running, we've been able to serve just about 2,400 businesses that are being served by the different consultants that we have. And we try and see how we can help them become soundly run businesses from a strategy point of view, to be able to grow and scale. We have a passion for helping build what we call African multinationals. So maybe we should talk. We are always encouraging African businesses to think global, to think big, to not see limits. Because I always say, if we are all the image of God, we all have His creativity, His ambition, His passion. And so Africans don't have it any less than the rest of the world. That's why we need to look towards that. And so we have a very big vision ourselves, looking also to just set up sandboxes globally. We are starting by adding 3 this year, Mombasa and 2 in Nairobi. Then we'll be looking at other countries as we go beyond that. So we hope to replicate those communities. Yeah.
That's amazing. Let me just ask before you give Kwame the mic. So what's the size of your communities, if you're to give a rough estimate off the top of your head?
Okay, so we are looking at every community being roughly about 3,000 people. So that you can do the multiples by every community we set up.
Absolutely.
By multiples of those 3,000.
Yeah, and one of the things we know from an angle of impact is that if one person increases their income, these are 3,000 founders?
Yes.
3,000 founders.
Yes, founders, yes.
So then you can imagine employing an average of how many people?
So in fact, in one study, we noted that, over a period of a year, people were able to add like 9 jobs.
9 jobs.
Businesses. So you can
in a span
see
of
the
1 year.
multiplier effect that happens when
Exactly.
the growth of those SMEs happen.
And for every job, there are probably about 5 dependents.
Yeah.
You can do the math right there. And then there are indirect dependents, So really this is powerful, and this is why we need to support one another to grow. And at the end, I'll give you some time to talk about the big baraza coming up in just a bit. Okay?
I'm thinking you should be my marketer.
You're hired.
I'm hired. That's really good. I'm really encouraged. That's fantastic. Kwame, tell us about you.
I like the question that you asked about our businesses, that if it stopped existing, will people go on the streets and ask the government or whosoever it is to reinstate? It's the same question I asked about churches. If your church stopped existing, will people riot? Or will people be giving thanks because noise in the community has reduced? And so it's a good question to ask ourselves. And for us as Pinnacle Impact Coaching, there are several programs we do. For example, we go to the corporates. We run devotional and inspirational programs with Safaricom shops at least once a month to go in and sit down with the employees and point them to Christ and, inspire them around the Word of God. Matters to do with transparency, integrity, and just character, Christ-like character. We say Christ-like disciples. We believe in multiplicational disciples, that I come into your institution, I disciple your team, and I give them the tools they can use to disciple other members of your team and even go into your family and disciple them after Christ. Currently, we are doing it Safaricom. We are doing that with Eden Bridge, which is a finance organization. We are also, we have done that, and we do that with Equity Bank, Ruaka, Cooperative Bank, Ruaka, and Family Bank, Ruaka. We come, we talk to church members who are managers and leaders of industry to give us that opportunity, maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes early in the morning before they open, and we go in and run a program for 10 weeks or so according to the dictates of that organization. So I've seen many people who are unchurched, but they work for you, and we come in and we point them to Christ. And eventually, as they grow in their faith, they'll find a local church where they can continue with their growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing is partnering with churches to start other activities like sports evangelism, where we go into the community and we identify a sport that the community people love. Do you know, Yvette, that 90% of the people who go to our stadiums to watch games are unchurched?
Wow.
So you go to Nyayo Stadium, if you can partner and do ministry there with a proper genuine program, you can get a lot of Christ followers coming to Christ. And then finally, of late, our community, our society, there's a taboo subject we don't talk about.
Yes.
Divorce and separation. The rate of divorce and separation has grown. The church seems not to be so ready to embrace that. Pinnacle Impact has gone in to partner with some churches and run divorce care, which is a program that is reaching out to the community, men and women who perhaps by choice or not by their choice, have found themselves in that season where they are battling with separation and divorce, and we help them to regain their faith in Christ, to heal. Even before we ask them to make choices, we need them healthy again, because they too are children of God. That's what I would say about it.
Wow, look at that impact. Let's appreciate amazing spirit-led entrepreneurs, change makers. Now, there is so much, but we have to bring our session to an end. The person who's helping me, just project 3 slides forward. Yes, stop there. At the wrap up, we are wrapping up. That's what we're doing. Now, I want to give you a call to action, and I want you to think, because you told me you don't have any questions. So I'm going to ask you a question, or I'll give you a call to action. And my call to action to you is, what are you going to do with what you've heard today? I want you to write it down. If you don't have a pen and paper, you have a phone. What are you going to do with what you've heard today? And you may be here and you're looking for tools and you're asking, how can I know more about this kingdom business framework? We have a table out there. I want to encourage you to go to the Synapis table and sign up, because we are thinking of having, actually this in itself is a 6 or 7 week program. Actually, it's a 7-week program where we look at each aspect, go deeper, and we help you come up with an action plan. So if you'd be interested in that, we'd encourage you to go to the Synapis table, and we would encourage you to sign up, and then leave it from there. We'll reach out to you, and we'll invite you to dig deeper and see how you can be a change maker for the kingdom of God. But we are very cognizant that we don't exist in isolation. And I'm just so happy that Sandbox is here. I'm happy. He wants to be a member of your SACCO. And, you know, I want you to keep a good eye on these people because I want you to interact with them even after here as we are wrapping up. But I just want to give Joram an opportunity because there's something that's happening in the next 2 weeks. And it's called the Big Baraza. I'm really excited about it. Maybe that's why I'm being your marketer. But anyway, why don't you tell us about the Big Baraza and how we as the entrepreneurial community can plug into that?
Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you for that opportunity. We have something similar to what you have here. We've been holding an annual conference for SMEs to come and be inspired, to learn, to network, and just so that we can have a nationwide conversation around how small businesses can grow. This year, the theme is about cracking the code and how to build multi-generational businesses. So we've invited quite a number of multi-racial Kenyans to talk about the experience of building a business in Kenya, some all the way from the 70s until now. And just what does it take to build a well-structured business that you can hand over? Are you handing over to your family? Are you handing over to other people? So we're going to be having a lot of very interesting conversations around how you can build very structured organizations that can grow. Some of the people coming to talk are Kenyans, but running businesses in multiple countries in Africa. And so it should be a very inspirational session. 29th and 30th, you can go to www.bigbaraza.co.ke. There's a charge to it, and we think that's important. You value what you pay for. So we'd be looking for, it's 18,000 for both days, or you can do one day for 10,000. And yes, so we look forward for you to come, and we also have an opportunity for exhibitors.
And where is it?
So it's going to be at the Movenpick Hotel in Westland.
So thanks.
We had about 500 people last year, so quite a number of people come. It's a very an amazing networking opportunity for SMEs and corporates who have SME products. Yeah.
Absolutely. 500 people. Why is this important? Entrepreneurship is important. I talked about our mission of making disciples and alleviating poverty through the power of entrepreneurship. Rich governments, the richest countries in the world, operate because of thriving entrepreneurship. All right? Whether it is church, whether it is government, whether it is community, economic engines are driven by thriving entrepreneurship. And when we look at the statistics in Kenya, I said I was going to also end up with the unchurched statistics. I love statistics. When we look at statistics in Kenya, if 5 businesses will open, by the end of the year, probably we may have 2 or 1 business standing. That is a ridiculously short lifespan. And that is why we do what we do. We equip businesses to succeed so they can surmount their challenges. How much more those businesses that were open in the 70s? Yeah, I'm excited. 2 of my classmates are going to be speaking at the Big Baraza. And you know, they are running their father's businesses. Can you imagine? That is beautiful. How I pray that more and more people will be able to build multi-generational businesses. Your children may not run it, but you may sell it to someone who will take it to the next level. That is the future of the economy that we are talking about. And if the founders of these businesses are God-fearing, they can permeate community, all right, with the influence, godly influence, and kill this cancer of corruption. I really desire, I don't know whether I'll see it in my lifetime. With God, all things are possible. But I really desire that the cancer of corruption will be eradicated as we move forward. Please turn to the social media page. I want you to put a hashtag or something about it. Just get your phones and do that. And as he's turning to the social media page, can we appreciate our panelists? I think they've done a fantastic job. Thank you so very much for your time. And I want you to appreciate yourselves because you have been amazing. Thank you very much for your participation and your involvement. So please, go and take what you've heard and do something about it. Thank you, and God bless you. I want to hand back to the organizers right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yvette. Oh. Thank you all so much for staying. We'll be having entertainment before our last plenary session and closing remarks. So you can stay put because we're coming back here, and then I'll just invite the entertainment to be here. So we'll start in about 5 minutes.
now ready for more this evening. So I'll be talking about collaboration. Next slide. And I very specifically want to go through what it takes to collaborate, because we have been talking about the importance of collaboration. We've been talking about the fact that we must be intentional about collaboration. And the big question is, how are we going to do this? Next slide, yeah. So at Collaborative Value Partners, we have been able to practice collaboration. We have two models, and these models have come as a result of research. I mentioned this earlier, for those who are in an earlier panel, that the research that I conducted among over 100 Ashoka Fellows in Africa was about checking how teams are working and how they influence collaboration. And from this, Collaborative Value Partners was born. So we are therefore saying that it's easy to talk about collaboration, but it is intentional, and we must know exactly where to start and where to end. So you can Google our organization to just learn more about that, because I only have 7 minutes and won't go through what else we do. I just want to go straight to the collaboration model. Next slide. So the CVP approach is a process of terms of collaboration. We align as we associate. So the first contact that we make with any new partner organization that we are collaborating with is in associating with them. And as we associate, then we go to transferring resources. And resources could be in any form: knowledge, it could be assets, it could be buildings, depending on who is the partner to the other. And then from there, we move to interaction and to being or creating synergy. Now, you'll notice that my funnel is the opposite of the funnels that you've seen in the past, where it goes from big to small. In collaboration, as you continue to collaborate, as you continue to learn and to appreciate one another and to share the knowledge that you have, then you find that you are gaining from the collaboration, and therefore the funnel grows other than reduce. So the next slide. Collaboration is not new. We have many people who have been talking about collaboration in the past. We also have African proverbs. We have one that we use all the time in our communication. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We say that all the time. We have Isaac Newton, who said, "If I have seen farther, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." And a Japanese writer said, "Individually, we are a drop, but together, we are an ocean." And there are many quotes that come that indicate that collaboration is not new, and people have already seen the value of collaboration and know the value of collaboration, and yet we are still not collaborating, and we are not co-creating, and we want transformational change. So what do we need to do? Now, I want to go into a little depth about the different stages that I explained, and starting with the association of value. So collaboration, like I said, starts with association. So the potential realization is shaped by the degree of complementarity and the fit between the partners. We also have noticed that an organization's image improves because of its partnerships with a well-regarded organization, a signal that it is worth supporting. And I'm just looking at the partners that we've been discussing even here. We have appreciated the association between Ashoka and Tangaza, for example. And the result of that has been a conference like this one that has been running for 6 years. Because of that partnership, we can say that both organizations have improved in their visibility, in their reputation, and also in projecting credibility as they work together, and also investor attractiveness. I can say that this 6th year, we've had more investors in this association than we've had in the past. Those are just examples. And I'll quickly go to the next one, which is the transfer. It's recognized through the transfer of either an asset or a resource. And we see that a lot in especially NGOs that are very lucky in a lot of times where they get resources either in the form of money, in the form of equipment, and sometimes even cars. So that's a transferred resource. But what I don't like about that example is that it's not really collaboration here. It is a donor giving a gift to an organization. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a resource that benefits both of our organizations. And one such resource that I remember all the time is when I became an Ashoka Fellow. I had a challenge putting my strategy together. And I knew that through the Ashoka family, I'm able to call out for a resource from an expert. And the Ashoka sourced through the partnerships that we have and the collaboration, and they sent to me a McKinsey consultant. Somebody I can't afford. I can't afford, even today, I probably can't afford a McKinsey consultant. That's who they brought to me as a young Ashoka Fellow. I was impressed. I was feeling so good about being an Ashoka Fellow. So this is the resource that came, that was transferred as a result of the collaboration. Because McKinsey was in collaboration with Ashoka, I was in collaboration with Ashoka, and therefore, because of that, there was value that came from that, that collaboration. The next is the interaction collaboration. Here, the value results from partners' interaction process that consists of intangibles that are outputs of the value creation process and inputs. Again, I want to give the example of the collaboration that we have seen here. And we as Ashoka Fellows have been very involved in this conference, for example, because we want to share what we know. And we've also seen many other partners that have come as a result of the collaboration between Tangaza and other partners. And just to give another example is last year, Tangaza and Ashoka went to, as part of the collaboration, were invited by Angromwinda in Congo for the first DRC Social Innovation Summit. I had never been to DRC. Let's start there. And then so many people came to learn from us. So we were able to, through the interaction, share our knowledge, showcase our innovations, and at the same time, we learned from them about what they're doing. And the whole interaction was so enriching that transformation has continued there. In fact, I was just having a discussion with the MD of Angromwinda, Piana, and I can't pronounce his name very well, sorry. And he's told me how that summit was so successful that the government is involved, other social entrepreneurs are involved, the private sector is involved, so the interaction has been extremely successful. The last important collaboration is synergistic value. And that's the one a lot of us know about, where we say that 1 + 1 becomes 3, or is it 2 + 2 becomes 5. In other words, it is that when we come together, we make more, we do more, and the resources combined in a unique way produce entirely new forms of change, resulting in significant organizational and systemic transformation and advancement at both micro and macro level. So this is the most transformative collaboration. The organizations trust each other at this time. They share resources, they co-create, and their solutions are extremely deep in the sense that they believe in each other and can gain a lot more by coming together. So how we are helping the organizations, next slide, is through the CVP approach. This is one of our models. We have organizations to bring the ecosystem partners together. And we take them through this collaboration process. And we talked about the collaborative value, and I've talked about the interaction, the association, synergy, and transfer resource. And through this process, we see them co-create, negotiate, and set organizations that we have been able to convene are social entrepreneurs who want to intentionally strengthen their ecosystems, develop partners who want to consolidate their impact through the interaction of the existing partners. And we have also convened organizations that want to change their direction in building certain consortiums that they may not have been able to build before. So we support them in that. So the other thing is that donors are now looking at consortiums for funding. And we've been able to help organizations, social entrepreneurs, and other NGOs to form consortium for funding. and towards transformational change. So last but not least, I want to talk about our impact model, the impact measurements for the model. We look at the individual, which through the wellness, dimensions of wellness. We look at the organizations of system change, and also the community through the SD. To be able to support you if you want to collaborate, and you don't know exactly how to do that, we are available to support you. And we have some flyers that are moving around, so if you don't have a flyer, it should come to you. That explain how we work that and how you can reach us to do that. So last slide is just our email address. You can reach us, and you can also get a card.
It's the time when we add community to that, collaboration community. So we have the community of local innovators, and we'll have a showcasing by Emmanuel Araka. Karibu, Emmanuel.
Good evening or good afternoon. I'm Emmanuel Tony from Ashoka, West Africa. And I hope you all are having a good time so far, so good, right? So since the start of the conference, the word collaboration has been a bit common, and I won't be far from that because the community of local innovators is all about collaboration. So creating transformational change today will always require a new model, and to effectively solve problems today we'll need to whatever we're doing, human-centered community and iteration. So hopefully, I've been given 7 minutes. I'll try to keep this short, but we can always meet or bump into each other out there to talk more about this. So in this presentation, I'll share more about these 4 principles and problems. And that's been categorized by one man known as Dave Soden, right? So in the instance of, for example, a simple problem, this will ideally be a world of increasing complexity, and interdependence will differentiate or will have different ideas depending on how we learn. We need to be in a constant mode of learning and iteration. Iteration meaning by where we are right now, we've found models that have been changed. So the question to us is all about how do we make this better. Next. So this is what brings us to the ANI initiative. So ANI is a co-led initiative by Ashoka, 4 organizations, Ashoka and 3 Ashoka fellows that came together to bring about committed systemic innovation, collaboration, and shared leadership of cities. So ANI, the meaning of ANI means it's a shared responsibility. Yeah, that's what it's to mean. So next slide. So these are the ideal pillars of ANI. Yeah? We have the Local Innovators Program, which is ideally the co-creation lab, where we have teams of entrepreneurs and local government leaders coming together to accelerate systemic change strategies. Then we have a marketplace of local solutions whereby people coming together invest in the systemic change solutions with one ideal mission or end goal. And then we have a peer-to-peer community where we have local innovators, social entrepreneurs, again with government leaders, young changemaker journalists coming together to learn from one another. And when we talk about government leaders, we're looking at the grassroots government leaders. So say for example in a town like Nairobi, we'll ideally look at the grass level government leaders who are there, and we are mostly linked to ones who are in policy making, because ideally the idea is to bring about all these people to co-create, to learn from one another and address the pressing solutions. Next chart. So that's the whole lineup of, so ANI will ideally teams of social entrepreneurs, really, local government leaders and systemic change, and local government leaders to develop systemic change strategies. And this is a roadmap of what we get to move forward. And we'll define it, ideate it, prototype, mobilize, and have by as a local innovator. Feel free to reach out, and we can see how we'll collaborate in this. So I don't think we'll have time.
Hey, my friend, what have you done to this thing? The microphone has jammed. So good people, Charles Kimathi and Benjamin Mackay, and I will hand over to our moderator to see if they can run us through this session.
Okay, thank you.
So good afternoon. All right, we shall dive straight into it. This session is entitled Everyone a Change Maker World through Collaboration, Co-Creation, and Co-Leadership. And Wamoyo has gone through some of these terminologies and defined them so well. In this call to action session, we will focus on the concept of social entrepreneurship, social innovation, and how individuals and organizations can work together to create a positive, sustainable change on the continent. The term change maker is used to refer to individuals who actively seek to create positive social impact, whether as social entrepreneurs or established or emerging innovators. We will explore related topics in identifying social problems, developing innovative solutions, building effective partnerships and collaborations, and fostering co-leadership and co-creation among diverse stakeholders. They have access to multiple innumerable apps so that we are not educating with our background for the past, yet we're supposed to be educating for the future. So we do not know how the world will be like in a few years to come or in the generations downstream, but today we will discuss some of those things to sort of create an image or a picture of how their world and the descendants downstream will look like. And so I would like to ask the first question, although it might be redundant because some of the things you might have to repeat again for the sake of those who have come in a little later, to Wamoyo Mahinda. And how do we create a culture of collaboration, co-creation, and co-leadership to ensure that everyone has a change maker world and mindset? And what do these terminologies ideally mean?
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that question. We are looking at the ecosystem. And the ecosystem, depending on where you are sitting or standing, has different players. If you're a private sector organization, for example, you are working with a community and you're working with government. If you're a school, you're working with students and you're working with parents and you're working with the community. So depending on who your ecosystem is, you have to intentionally think about how you work together. Because the only way everyone can make a change in your ecosystem is by everybody being intentional. And the one who starts that journey is the person.
I want to say, by being trained on value addition, entrepreneurial skills, and then they are able to build themselves, export, and bring them to another level. So I think looking at everything and being able to challenge the barrier that is hindering the social entrepreneur, the social innovation, is very key for us to be able to realize a new world order. And just as a rider to that, as we look at the new world and what we envision, we have to embrace issues of agroecology and climate resilience. We talked here of many solutions that are able to bring a change. So it is only right that we fund and finance solutions and innovations that are able to be cognizant of the energy and renewable sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like when somebody talks about gender. I was brought up by my grandmother and my mother, and I work with children. So what you've said was music to my ears. Charles, how can we weaponize the media to bring about collaboration between different actors, co-creation, and promote co-leadership? I hope that's not as loaded.
No, that is not as loaded. Okay. Yeah, and I really appreciate that question because I'll tell you a short story. In our encounter with a lot of that, and I'm not talking about conversations I had last year or the year before. This is like 5, 6 years ago. So one of the things we did, Standard Media Group,
was to take up that challenge and say, look, we will be at the forefront of driving this agenda for change making. What that required us to do, therefore, was to look inward and decide we must start with ourselves. How are we structured as an organization? And we began to change that. One of the things that we knew we must do to get into that world is to understand it. So we set up a foundation. It's the Standard Media Group Foundation. The moment we did that, it became quite clear to a lot of us in the media as journalists that, you know, that is really a new world for us. The language was different, the way you interact is different, the way you finance it obviously is also different, actually within that space. So we looked also at education, created something we are calling the Great Places to School. And the key with all these initiatives is the underlying theme there was partnership. How do we bring people together and walk the journey with them? Now, when we go to a point of social entrepreneurship, then it became clear that this is not just a Kenyan agenda. It is African and it's global. So we began to change our systems to fit into what the social entrepreneur needed. So right now, the kind of conversation you hear us having is about how do you create impact? If you go to a corporate anywhere, the first thing is profit. You think, what's the profit margin? How much, what's the revenue on this? What is the return on investment? That still happens, but there's a lot more conversation around what is the social impact? How are you going to influence the outcomes? And indeed, what are those outcomes? So in a conversation in a boardroom at the Standard Media Group, you'll begin to hear, on the one hand, those who speak about return on it, and those of us who are talking about social impact. And I think that is then the direction we believe as an innovative media house that we should drive. And it's not just for our own sake, but to become the champion for the social entrepreneurship agenda for Africa. So what we do, and that is where, in fact, we have collaborated very closely with the Tangaza University and Ashoka and other partners, is to ensure that anyone who has an innovative idea, who has an enterprise that must be amplified, then has a safe space. Safe in the sense that we are not going to be too critical. Has it succeeded? Where did you fail last year? How long have you taken to succeed? No, we want to then walk the journey with you because we know that success will probably come in 3, 4, or 5 years. And that is then the change that we are driving within the media house.
Oh, thank you. I think when you talk about being at the forefront of social impact, that's a very good aspect of it, moving beyond the return to investment as a profit priority and so on. So just like Standard, Safaricom is a very dynamic company. It almost looks like a new company every other year with many, many products every other morning. How do you catalyze and what have you catalyzed? What have you done to achieve here today? Because it sounds or seems like you were ahead of time before this discussion came up.
So thank you so much for that question. And actually, before I respond to your question, I would want to maybe add on what my fellow panelists talked about. And not like most of the private sector are not very keen to collaborate, but you need to have the reason why you are going to collaborate. Partnerships, as you mentioned initially, is they are all about creating more value together, managing a severe one, and eventually actually reaping the benefits of the value you've created together. So when you talked about 1 + 1 is equals to 2, 1 + 1 is equals to 1, I mean, it's not quite new to us. It's only that in the private sector, we need to find a reason why we should sort of like partner with you, and how does it contribute to one. Depending on the lens which you use, at the end of it, there are quite a number of things which are have to be put into perspective for us to be able to come up with some of these innovations. all of you here are part of it as change makers, as partners, because nothing comes from us as an organization. It's an ecosystem of so many actors. So what are some of the key things we are trying to do as an organization? Is to look at it totally differently. To all of us, Safaricom is known as the home of Mpesa. You're able to send SMSs. You're also able to make a call, mobile data. But we are going beyond the technology side of it and asking ourselves, what are the new other growth opportunities which are also impactful, which we can focus on? So you find Safaricom working inside the organization now for us to be able to change mind shifts. So for instance, using the team which I had technology for development in Safaricom, I have a group of product managers of whom we work with. Product development is one of the most crucial aspects or other crucial roles within an organization, because you can never create something which doesn't resonate with the masses. And if it doesn't resonate with the customers, the solution you are creating won't really fly, or it won't really be taken by the market. So for them to be able to do that, you have to give them the autonomy to make decisions, and also give them an autonomy to interact with customers so that they can understand them. And that leads me to some of the methodologies the moderator asked. And it's all about ways in which you can be more agile to address most of the pressing issues within the society. You can also think of design thinking, of which Ashoka talked about extensively, in terms of you have to empathize with the people you want to collaborate with, you want to develop solutions with, or rather you want to co-create with. So these are new mind shifts, mindsets which have to be inculcated in enterprises such as ours and corporates in general. And we wouldn't say we are there 100%. It's a continuous process. I mean, we keep on learning each day. You find ourselves participating in forums such as this to also learn, relearn, and learn some of the things which we never used to know, or we are not doing in the right way. So that's the position, and that's the bit I would sort of share at the moment.
Oh, I think talking about resonance with the clients or with the masses, I think that would be a very good drive for any organization in terms of trying to problem solve for the masses. Let's go a bit geographical and talk about regional integration and cooperation between states. We recently had Congo become part of EAC. So, Wamoyo, if I may ask, how do you see regional integration and cooperation being driven by governments if we have players in this conference, having listened to you make such a presentation on collaboration, co-leadership, and co-creation?
With the housing ministry, because they are currently putting together many houses and they want to work with youth in Kenya, or rather work with youth or employ youth. Let me put it that way: employ youth to build those houses, because there are many houses, and this would be a good opportunity for youth employment. Now, when this happens, the government wants to do its thing the way it always does it. They have their own methodology that they've been using forever. So in this conversation, we were saying, we are the ones working with youth on the ground. If you co-create with us, if you talk to us, we will tell you what youth are saying, and we will bring on, and we'll be able to discuss how youth want to work, and how they like to work, and how they can work with you. And it will be an easier solution in the sense people can be employed by government. But the truth is, they actually don't have the real skills that, for example, this particular program needed. So we brought in a social entrepreneur who is working on skilling this youth. And we said, let's not reinvent the wheel. We already have social entrepreneurs that have
very hold systems accountable, because sometimes we need the social movements to be able to demand and ask for transparency and hold the systems accountable. So I believe that social movements are a very key part of any, if we want to achieve social change, because the people in the social movement act as drivers for social change. Thank you.
I think that question was profoundly responded to, and I like that you have talked about social movements and really advocated for that as a driver and a motive. The motive for innovation being the power of the masses. And I think it goes back to what the previous panelists had said, that products and innovation are driven by the needs on the ground. Moving on to Charles, I would like to read something to give it context. Given the political affiliations of communities and the resulting challenges to cross-sectoral collaboration, how can social entrepreneurship be used to bridge political divides and drive systemic change towards a more equitable economic and political development, especially through media?
Thank you. I would like to begin by saying that, social entrepreneurship has no tribe. I think if you must use the word tribe for social entrepreneurship, it has to be social impact, which then is cross-cutting. There is nothing that is more fulfilling than seeing young people across different communities, indeed across different countries, working to solve common social problems. We use media, of course, for a lot of reasons, in many ways, political. We've seen politicians take diseases, as we are doing with our foundation. Then you create, but it has to be deliberate, that you create spaces, platforms, because that is usually the challenge with media, that it's dedicated space for that conversation. Now, that is what we see as the future, because it is not, in any, you go to Kibera, which communities are there? You can't quite tell. Everybody is there. Media perspective. It is that the media must deliberately take action to bring about that change. If it doesn't, then you become led by the story of the day. But once you reverse that, as we have done, then we decide, as we have done, for instance, that we decide by just the manner in which we projected this story. So I think to answer your question is that the media then plays a central role in setting that agenda and shaping the discussion. That narrative begins to shift. We have seen that narrative shift. I want to give an example, in fact, in relation to what Momoyo said, about just what we are doing within the TVET sector. In 2016 and earlier in this country, TVETs were not that important. It's all about universities. We made the deliberate decision as media to support that sector. It was not funded, very poorly funded even by government. But we knew if we kept at it, something will change. And it did change. Today, everybody's talking about the TVET sector. If you talk to some of these institutions in 2016, they had no students. Nobody wanted to go there. And we quickly changed that narrative. It is the same success that we want to achieve.
Load it with in industries and create a more integrated, collaborative approach to problem solving, borrowing from Safaricom's model.
That's a loaded question, actually, in the sense it has to be anchored on a share.
Over and over again, instead of being used to scale. So you give 3 organizations, for example, resources to think about youth employment, for example. And they all come up with the same solution, meaning we've wasted the resources, whereas we could have put them together, worked together in a consortium, developed that same solution because it was the same anyway, but divided into 3, and then scale that. Now, looking at it from a national perspective, if we are, government is solving the problem of youth employment, When I look at it globally, like now at Catalyst 2030, where we are, it's a movement of social entrepreneurs, where we are saying we want to meet the SDGs by 2030. That's why we are called Catalyst 2030. We have 4 pillars. One pillar is youth employment. And we are looking at this now from an Africa perspective and saying, we as social entrepreneurs can do something. But in reality, we can't do much as just social entrepreneurs. Or the one I'm dreaming about will be closer than it is.
We try to collaborate or to do things together because you find a lot of things to do with power dynamics. People not being keen to sort of like, people being ready to leave the other behind. So that's why you find a lot of duplication, especially on most of the initiatives which are geared towards change or contributing on the solutions of ensuring such a barriers are taken care of. And it's all a shift in terms of the culture and the way the leadership views collaboration. And it has to come from within most of them, because an organization like yours will partner with an organization which is larger than yours. There is that feeling.
The model that we have built is to support those organizations in different sizes, because we are saying, let's come together, and then we meet, we convene, so that they're not talking on their own. Somebody else, because there's also even conflict. I never mentioned there's a lot of conflict that comes with the coming together. People are in addition to being afraid of losing their identity, they also don't agree, and then they can't tell the donor, for example, the person bringing the money, that I don't agree, because they're like, okay, if I don't agree, I'll be thrown out of this arrangement, and then I won't be part of the, whatever we are doing together. But when somebody else is convening, then it's a different story, because then it doesn't matter whether you're small or big, we have the same conversation and somebody's guiding that conversation. So please come to us, we will help you with that challenge. Thank you.
I can wrap it up in what you just said. You said it in the simplest words, that different solutions are derived when people work in a consortium than when they work in silos. My last question to you, before you make your final remarks, will be around fundraising, and what innovative fundraising initiatives you would like to see driven to help achieve some of these goals that you're talking about here today, from ActionAid. Sorry.
Thank you for that question. And I think we mentioned that one of the key barriers to the social entrepreneurs is funding. And I know here we have funders, we have people who receive funds. And I think the call that is necessary for us all, even as we are in this conversation, is to be able to decentralize funding, the focus of funding, and be able to fund the medium and small micro enterprises, because when you work with the grassroots, you'll be able to achieve results. I think so. It needs to be a mind shift between the funders and the recipients, because they also need to have a collaborative, co-creative relationship. It's not like a funder-fundee relationship, but a partnership. I know we have talked about the partnership. And if we have to achieve transformational development, we need to move from being transactional. And if the fundraising sector, we change our mindset from being transactional and be transformative, we'll be able to aid the social entrepreneurs, and they'll be able to address the barrier of fundraising. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Charles, in your call to action, how can we ensure that collaboration, co-creation, and co-leadership are not just left in this conference, but they become part of the DNA of our social change?
Thank you very much. That is excellent. I would say this: let's take action. This is the 6th ACOSE conference, meaning there have been 5 others before it. My call to action is very simple. I think if you look across this room, there are a lot of solutions. People have solutions. We have thought about these things and talked about them for a long time. I believe that it is already late for action. Action should have been taken. If you look at the climate action space and what is happening, especially in relation to Africa, is that we must take actions and accelerate those actions to be on the global platform to push our interests as Africans. Obviously, that translates also to global platform. But for us here, I think we have the networks necessary to see action actually happen. We are not limited by geographical boundaries. And I think technology and what happened with the experience over COVID that leapfrogged us to the future is that we have everything that we need to make that change happen. Let me speak from a media perspective. If you look at the digital platforms and the change that is happening across media, and we're not talking the globe, and for Africa, because I know there are, I just to assure you that if you are thinking about amplifying your story, it does not matter whether you are seated in Nairobi or Uganda or you are in Ethiopia. We have collaborated, you are in Ethiopia. We have collaborative partnerships with the media houses across Africa. So what happens in that space, therefore, is that we are using our collaborative partners in other countries. But indeed, in terms of what action then should be taken, how we should move forward, I think it is to have the courage to just move up, come forward, and present to us what you feel would be a solution. And this is beyond media, by the way, because we as a media organization are saying now we are no longer deliver on what promise you have given to your audiences or solution you want to achieve. That way then together we will be able to talk about the future that Wamunyu is talking about in not too much of a distant future. And that will then improve the lives of our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask Benjamin to briefly just tell us what success criteria he feels should be the yardstick to check that what we have discussed today and that future is a successful model. As we wind up.
Well, can be defined in many ways, and it's all, actually I would say like it's also a collaborative effort, because it all depends on the initiative you are working on, and you set a specific metrics. But key to it is how many lives have we been able to change, how many lives have we been able to transform. And key to what I do on a day-to-day basis and what my organization is all about, it's all about leveraging technology, knowing that advancements in technology have made it possible to connect people to people, people to opportunities, and people to knowledge. So I would really be more keen on, have I been able to live to some of those key metrics which have been set? Are people impacted in a manner which really indicates that there is indeed a change in their lives and their lives are being transformed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to our esteemed panelists. We hope that you have done justice to the discussion, albeit limited time. My name is John Karanja, as I told you, and I'm a teacher, or the head teacher, what you call principal popularly, in the school called Tahiti High or Nairobi Academy.
Good people, as that goes on, I'd like to acknowledge the presence amongst us of...
On a high note, again, I want to take this opportunity to welcome our visitors, Mr. Philip, CEO of ICA Lion, our partner, one of our main partners this year, and Ms. Susan, Principal Secretary, State Department, Small and Medium Enterprise Development. We are greatly honored to have you among us. I know it's not always easy to have a PS and a CEO of big companies sitting together in a conference like this, considering that they are always very busy people. So your presence among us is a great honor to us. During these 2 days, we have talked a lot about collaboration, partnership, co-creation, new initiatives to accelerate system change on this continent. And what we hope will happen is that through the conversation, the network that happened these 2 days, we should be able, there are new things that will come up. And in the process of organizing a course this year, this 6th edition of a course, and exploring different partnerships, there were, in sharing of ideas, there were new initiatives, co-creations that emerged. So what we are going to do at this stage is that we are going to launch 2 events, 2, let's say, innovation that are part of Akose. Akose often every year gives birth to something. Okay? Other initiatives, just to mention, there was one Akose where we started the whole process of legal framework for social enterprise here in Kenya. So the first initiative is what we call Africa Academic Hub, which is a collaboration between Catalyst 2030. For those who don't know, Catalyst 2030 is one of the big movements that is driving change. It's a global movement of social entrepreneurs who are making great impact. So it's a movement that saw what Akose is doing, that then they partnered with us. And ANSES. ANSES is an organization based in South Africa that supports academic research and teaching for social entrepreneurs. You know very well that in our academic institution, one of the gap is capacity for transformative pedagogy. That is what ANSES does. So these 3 entities, Akose, ANSES, and Catalyst 2030, have come together to build something we call Africa Academic Hub to advance research. So I would like to call briefly Caroline, who will be representing Catalyst 2030, to tell us briefly in 2 minutes what African Academic Hub is all about.
Thank you very much, Brother Jonas. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'd like to talk about Catalyst 2030. As Brother Jonas has said, I wouldn't want to repeat again. It's Catalyst 2030 is the fast-growing global movement of people and organizations, and we are committed to achieving the SDGs. In this year, we come together to build, to form an academic hub with major objectives on engaging students, engaging people to transform, to participate in social innovation between educators and different program leaders. The second objective of Africa Academic Hub is to share best practices. So here we develop a portfolio of research which we employ regional educational material that is valuable to practitioners. The third objective of this academic hub is to educate. So we prepare the next generation of change makers by educating students about SDGs and identify solutions to social problems. The fourth objective is to reach out to people who are researching on different subjects, and we work hand in hand. We collaborate to see how we are able to work with the universities, researchers, and to connect them to research opportunities and academic partnership. So I wouldn't want to take a lot of time talking about that, but I would like to invite all of you on a countdown as we launch the Africa Academic Hub. So, are we ready? Are we ready? So, well, so 10, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 0, and we have it. Africa Academic Hub. Thank you so much. So this is an opportunity where we are working with ACOSEM and the answers. We want to give all the researchers, people who have ideas, they want to research on different case studies, to come in together and work together to see how far we can push, how far and fast we can push the achievement and the realization of sustainable development goals. In connection to that, we would like to inform you that we'll be doing different projects with the schools, university, colleges, whereby we will be bringing the social entrepreneurs in classroom, whereby they will educate, they will mentor, and also encourage the peer-to-peer education between students, researchers, and everybody who is in startups. So feel welcome, join us, join Catalyst, join ACOSE, join ANSES to push through this, to make our story harder, to bring out our story through research, through collaboration. Thank you so much, Brother Jonas.
Thank you, Caroline. Let me now call Mr. Charles to tell us about the other big initiative that has come out of our cooperation between Ashoka, Tangaza, and Standard Media.
Thank you very much. A couple of days ago, we had a conversation, and it went like this. After we have had this very successful conference, then what happens after that? Fortunately, earlier than that, before that conversation, we had another conversation, and it went like this. Since we know what we've been doing in ACOSE for the last 5 years, we must do something different this year. So in answer to the first question, we sat with Tangaza University and Ashoka. Now this is with the Standard Group, and we decided it is critical that we move ACOSE forward. What does that practically mean? It means that when we have a collaboration like this and a convening of this nature, which is really high-powered, there must be a reason why this event happened. And there must be a way of moving these ideas to the next level and continue with the conversation, not next year, in May, but every month moving forward. So we decided that we must find a way of bringing all the parties that have come here today, the social entrepreneurs who are doing excellent work, but leveraging on the power of the media, specifically the platforms that we have created under the Standard Media Group, across the digital platforms, television, radio, the print products, to have a conversation that will be ongoing after ACOSE. And the objective of that basically is to amplify the work that you do and to create the networks that are essential in creating the successful enterprises that we all are working to achieve. So it is for this reason, I will not give it away, that we decided today we will have a launch of a product that will tie all this together and will keep us together in a positive way, and specifically leveraging on the power of the Standard Media Group platforms to actualize your dreams. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good afternoon. Yeah, good to see the energy is still there because the conversations have really been energizing. Thank you, Brother Jonas and Charles, for getting us started in this almost the final session of this. Thank you, CEO ICA, for gracing this. Madam PS, we're really grateful for your presence. When Brother Jonas talked about Akose having babies every year, every time there is a new initiative, I was a bit shuddering because when we started planning for Akose 6, the imagery we were using was a baby. So we were saying, are we going to deliver this baby? And so the baby has been delivered, and the baby has been delivered and at the same time delivered 2 babies. And that's a feat that is only a story of myths, if you're following me. But like I said yesterday when we were starting, the difference between Akose and many conferences, maybe just the difference because we have thought about it intentionally, is the long-term view that we have of the Annual African Conference on Social Entrepreneurship and the Pan-African perspective that we are taking on this. As Ashoka, we have been supporting social entrepreneurs for the last 40 plus years. And if you can imagine the world population and you look at the numbers of people we have in our network as Ashoka Fellows, as social entrepreneurs, only 4,000. But that's not the only number of social entrepreneurs. There's so many social entrepreneurs out here, and we have listened to many stories today, doing fantastic work to transform our communities, transform our countries, transform our regions, and really thinking hard about transforming Africa and the stories that are coming out of Africa, because there are never so many stories of transformation that are coming from Africa. And we thought as a family now probably, and there's something I'll tell you about collaboration and partnership when when you're discussing it. We thought about it and we said, hey, look here, because during Akose, for the last 6th edition, now this is the 6th edition, we always meet all these fantastic social entrepreneurs from different parts of the continent. And in other cases, actually before COVID, we had the pleasure of hosting social entrepreneurs from outside the continent and other players who are really interested in investing, in supporting this level of innovation, system level innovation from outside the continent. So it means something beautiful is happening. There are so many innovations that are popping up now, and you will hear young people and old people being part of that. Where are those stories lost? So we thought these stories must be told, these stories must be amplified, and these stories must be owned by us. And then also for the social entrepreneurs who don't make it to all these many established networks, we need to shine a spotlight on them. We need to provide them with the kind of support we've been discussing here when we're looking at the 5 pillars of ecosystem that has informed the discussion of this conference. How do we do that if we don't bring them forth and shine a spotlight on them and celebrate them? So we need to celebrate social entrepreneurs on the continent. And then we cannot just wait for Akose, for instance, or any other major gathering to showcase what social entrepreneurs are doing. Yesterday we heard from Madam CEO, the CEO Council of Governors, talk about the Devolution Conference. And we thought, yeah, there is need to exhibit what social entrepreneurs are doing on a regular basis. We cannot just be waiting for Akose or major conferences. How do we tap into every other opportunity when people are convening, when the government is convening, when the private sector is convening, when INGOs are convening, when all these other intermediaries are convening? Can we create spaces to have social entrepreneurs also exhibit? So what we are about to share here, the second baby that the baby has had, has those 3 pillars. Just the same way you see the partnership is 3, but of course, very traditional. we are talking about advancement. We've advanced, so this has to be maybe 8-burner, 16-burner cooker, which definitely means we have to collaborate. We have to have the private sector there. We have to have government, INGOs, funders. We have to have everyone doing their bit so that by the time we are serving sustainable development, then it is indeed sustainable by design and by intent. And so I want to ask Brother Jonas to come and do us the honors to finally tell us, reveal, again, this is a phenomenon. Baby Akose getting a baby. Because we delivered this baby yesterday, only 2 days old, and we have another baby. So Brother Jonas, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Vincent. I will not speak for long. I will ask our technician just be ready. Just one thing. It doesn't always happen that you find academic institution partnering with a media for this kind of initiative, okay? And I think has been really inspirational, to have this idea of amplifying the impact of many, even micro entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs out there. Amazing story. I keep saying Africa is a continent of stories, but sometimes we don't tell the story. We let other people tell our stories. We want to own our stories, as they said. We want our stories to inspire, and then we are committed through Akose to be able to do that.
Social entrepreneurship that is dedicated to making everyone a change maker, and PLAZA University College, the institution training leaders for social transformation, are proud to bring you SAT. SAT is powered by your shared vision and fueled by our pooled resources to deliver our promise of creating change for tomorrow. As we look forward to transforming Africa, we shall uphold our pillars through the annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship, ACOSE, which will allow us to identify and reward social entrepreneurs through our SAT Awards, SAT Expo, SAT Stories, and SAT Forums. World over, we remember the pacesetters, the trendsetters, SAT, innovation transforming Africa.
Thank you. Thank you. We invite you to join us in this new journey. You have the stories. We want to tell the story. Join us. And we want all the partners who have been part of Akose, join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I invite you to stay there for the photo, and I would like our guests to join because I will have you. So, Bwana CEO and Madam PS, grace us with your presence at the stage now. Let's get the logo.
receive what we would call winding up or closing remarks from Mr. Philip Lokopoyit, the CEO, ICEA Lion Group. They've been very supportive in this whole process of making this conference happen, and I think they are going to be journeying with us henceforth more strongly. You're welcome.
Honorable Susan Auma Mangeni, PS Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Development, Professor Sister Jacinta Adhiambo, DVC Academics, Brother Jonas Chineku, Director, Institute for Social Transformation, Vincent Otieno Odhiambo, Regional Director, Ashoka, East Africa, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Good afternoon. As mentioned, my name is Philip Lopokoit. I'm the CEO at ICEA Lion Group, and I am truly honored to be in this 6th annual Africa Conference on social entrepreneurship. I was speaking earlier to Brother Jonas, and he was assuring me that over the last 2 days, this has been a very engaging and interactive session, and we truly look forward to some of those outcomes that are relevant for us Africans living in the continent. I want to begin with processes that lead to significant changes in society. And again, these innovations themselves have the potential to create a more sustainable and equitable society. And this is really going to speak to some of what I'm just going to touch base on, and I'm going to try to keep it at a higher level. But I was looking through some of the themes that have been circulated earlier, and to see, to which extent are the touch points that ICEA Lion Group, as a private sector player, contributes quite a bit. And I was able to highlight a few across here. There are things that, touch points that we touch quite regularly. They kind of provide some good backdrop to ESG agenda. And I'll just give you some of those touch points. Firstly, we are represented in what's called the PSI, which is the Principles for Sustainable Insurance, which is a global body which I sit on behalf of the organization. And again, this kind of agenda really takes place there. We also have insurance, and we began it with about 8 signatories, and now we're over 100 signatories across 23 countries in Africa. And I think, we also sign on something called a Global Compact Network, where we seek to support various initiatives which very much speak to with respect to some of the outcomes that come through from transforming social innovations. The transforming social, important that we continue having voices with respect to ESG, because in particular when they come to African voices, because it's only Africans who should really would really benefit by addressing and getting solutions to African challenges. And this in turn is really going to improve the resilience of the, we know that the health and safety is taken into account, human rights, customer and product responsibility, and as a business, we take our corporate citizenship in this respect seriously. Other ecosystem degradation, and it's not just here in Kenya, it's also right across Africa, and it means that this really is close to enhancing sustainable development challenges, and as we engage on some of these topics, I'm reminded of the definition of what is sustainable development, which was done by the Brundtland Commission, and I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And that really means, meeting the needs of the present generations without compromising the needs of the future generations. And I want to say that sustainable development, from where I see, is indeed an outcome of transformative social innovations. So just explaining a little bit about the history and how some of the initiatives that ICA Line has taken in terms of supporting that. I mentioned earlier about the Nairobi Declaration for Sustainable Insurance. And this was launched, we launched an initiative in COP27, where the leadership of the Nairobi Declaration put up a proposal to set up what we're calling the Africa Climate Risk Facility. This facility has got a target amount of about $1 billion, and it's looking to cover, provide insurable cover of $14 billion, and negotiations with certain development partners to put this in place, and we hope that within a year or so, we'll have this up and running across Africa. It will be available to the people who've signed on to those signatories, and as of today, we're talking about covering 23 countries within Africa. And I think by working together with partners, and we had earlier how important it is to reach out and build on partnerships, but by working together with partnerships within globally, internationally, and also with sovereign governments, we're really looking to make a big difference to this, to the impact of climate change globally in Africa, and certainly look forward to explaining more of this as it evolves into the future. I just also want to state that there are other elements of transformative social innovations like renewable energy, and those are some of the things that we as a business continue to pursue. This include geothermal, and I know, for example, that from a social entrepreneurship at an individual level, that opportunity might not be as big as it is, but in particular, in building together a network to build corporates, and as a leader in geothermal underwriting, which is, by the way, is something that is coming through for the first time in Kenya, the underwriting of it locally. We're looking to really de-risk what we call early stage geothermal exploration, and that in itself is going to increase the opportunities for renewable energy in Kenya and beyond. So I just want to say about, what are some of the lessons that in our journey on ESG that we've picked up. A couple. Firstly, that we need more voices, and it's really good to participate in this conference, where I can see that a lot of the touch points that we're talking about and collaboration and partnerships are really right high up in the radar. So getting more voices with respect to that. So we need more African voices in this conversation. There's also what we say, lack of knowledge and awareness on some of the key issues. And it's forums such as this, which are beamed to as many people as possible, that continue to provide that opportunity for people to understand better what the current issues are. And then also, sometimes because of reasons with respect to lack of resources, people look at things more from a short-term basis as opposed to on a long-term basis. So that in itself sometimes compromises the quality of the solutions that exist or have been prescribed for that. So that's something that we really need to look at going forward, and I'm sharing that as something that even this conference here can borrow with pride. So the ESG element, what does it mean for social entrepreneurs, such as those who may be here or who may be following this online? In terms of what we've experienced so far, we've been engaged in co-creating products, co-creating solutions, and I think that I had some of that earlier on. For some of the risks that look to materialize, we don't really have specific products in the market. And I mentioned to you earlier on about geothermal. We're looking to launch products such as, in fact, it's literally been launched a couple of weeks ago, environmental impairment, liability, and a couple of others that are currently online. And I think this just shows our appetite to look for those solutions that will de-risk some of the challenges that are there in the market, but also at the same time enable sustainable development. So I just want to emphasize that the importance of public-private partnerships and Honorable PS, I'm sure that there'll be opportunities for us. I whispered to you about an opportunity that I'll hopefully come and talk to you, which is in your field, that we can look for opportunities to co-create solutions, because some of these initiatives actually require the government to help us, whether it is in terms of legislation or in terms of creating an enabling environment. So supportive government policies go a long way, and I'm pleased that you're able to come to this session as well, so that we can continue to work together to build the country as well as achieve our goals. So I would encourage the social entrepreneurs here to continue to pursue partnerships through private sectors, through the government. There are funds that are available. You can name it, whether it's climate change or adaptation solutions, and those all fit overall on the ESG agenda. And also, I think they'll play a great role, a leap in terms of transformative social innovation. So I just want to say that if we continue to collaborate and act together in concert, I believe that we'll fully achieve some of the goals, not only that have been set in this conference, but also our own social entrepreneurship goals, as well as government goals and private sector goals. So those are the remarks that I just wanted to share, and I really just want to wish all participants here well as we continue to collaborate for the resilience of our continent, our country, and our communities. Thank you very much. Thank you for being a great audience. Thank you.
Madam PS, you're welcome. We have with us Honorable Ms. Susan Auma, Principal Secretary, State Department for Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise Development.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great people, led by our good friend, the ICA Lion Executive Director, who I understand to be one of the biggest or the largest sponsor of the event. Are you? Yeah, and Dr. Jonas, the other name is difficult. Allow me to pronounce it. The Director for the Institute for Social Transformation, Vincent Otieno Odiambo, Regional Director, Ashoka, East Africa, and all protocols observed. Good evening. Yes, so first of all, let me begin by thanking the organizers for this very impactful event that brings us together to do a bit of conversation and engaging and trying to see how we can together find solutions that can solve a lot of myriad challenges that we have as a continent. But before I do that, Dr. Jonas, or rather I see you're being called Brother Jonas, we are never busy. So it's not a privilege, you know. It's a right to be here, right? So I want you to take it like it's our responsibility to be here, to engage. So anytime, if you call upon us, even if you don't call upon us, and we know you are here, we will come. We will come, and more so from people from my ecosystem, the State Department of MSME will come, because we exist to engage with you people, we exist to work with you people, we exist to look for solutions that can help us solve our problems. The concept of social entrepreneurship is not a new concept, but it's also a concept that most of the time is misunderstood. But I want to think aloud that if there is any sort of entrepreneurship that is supposed to happen in Africa, that is, if it's not happening, then it has to be social entrepreneurship. Because why? Beyond just making profit, we have a responsibility to bring about solutions, to create impact in our lives and in the lives of our people in the continent. Right now, before I read the speech, you know I have to read the speech and hand it over to you. But allow me just to say a few remarks before I read the speech. And you know, we are supposed to read these speeches because a lot of efforts have gone into them. So, yeah, as a protocol and formality, we have to read and leave it to the organizers. But let me say this, MSME State Department. This is the first time in this country that you're having a whole State Department being devoted to help grow and increase the productivity, the competitiveness, and the profitability of micro, small, and medium enterprises in this country. We all know, that MSME are the backbone of our economy. However, we have really unexploited opportunity. A few weeks ago, I was somewhere in some other parts of the world where sometimes it snows, sometimes, that kind of weather. And I was seated with a good friend of mine who happens to be from this continent. And we're just having tea and sharing. I was saying, I'm imagining if we had this kind of climatic condition, we in Africa, in our continent, how will we have managed? And I told that friend of mine that the God we serve can never give you challenges that you can never solve. Isn't it? So when you saw God never, gave us those snow and all those harsh climate, he knew we didn't have capacity. But again, that's to mean that all the problems that we are having in Africa can be solved. So whenever you see those problems that you're having, those challenges that we keep on having, underlining beneath those challenges, there is always opportunity. There is always solution to solve the problem. If you see people talking about the high poverty levels, the level of vulnerability in Africa that we have, just look beyond them. There are opportunities of solving those problems. So from an entrepreneurship perspective, those problems are your business ideas, isn't it? So if you are a social entrepreneur, you look at those problems and the solution you have, the ideas you have about solving that problems becomes your social enterprise. So in other words, we are a continent that is full of opportunity. And right now, when everybody across this world start talking about sustainable development goals, how can we achieve them? The only way to achieve them is to change their approach, to change how we perceive development in Africa, start perceiving Africa not as a continent of problems, but as a continent of opportunity. Whenever you're doing financing proposal for Africa, let them be informed by opportunities which are in Africa, but not of those problems that we have in Africa. When you urge us here that we need to collaborate, you can never collaborate around problems. You only collaborate around opportunities, isn't it? When they tell us we need to see how we prosper so that we share in that prosperity, you can never prosper if each one of us are not bringing something on the table. We can never have shared prosperity. So in those corridors where these conversations are taking place, what we say is that time has come where you have to start looking at Africa as a partner, but from the point of view of the massive resources that we have, natural resources, very hardworking people that we have, people who are daring, people who are go-getter, people who can move the mountain, as opposed to a continent where people are sleeping hungry, because even when we sleep hungry, don't we know what we need to do? We know. So in other words, you start investing in enablers that can help unlock the opportunities that are surrounding the continent. Having said that, there is a principle in the now development world that says leave no one behind. Now, leaving no one behind means we got to appreciate that each and every corner of this world has got some economic potential. And each and every individual, including even street families in an urban setting like this, has got an economic value. So everybody has got a value. So as actors, as government, as everybody here, our work is to see how do we support this person? How do we enable these places? places wherever they are. They can be regional physical spaces. They can be age spaces like our young people. They can be demographic like gender. How do we, enable them to exploit economic value from those spaces? Having said that, the reason why His Excellency the President probably thought it wise to come up with this State Department was so that we can work with you. We can work with you because for the longest time possible, for the longest time in this country, we had very many people doing things that nobody knew. You people, I'm sure this is the sixth ACOSE annual conference you're having. But if I said that I knew that it existed, I'll be lying. I never knew. India, I only knew about it a few days ago when I met one of your partner here in my office. But we needed to have a platform where we can all converge and appreciate what is it that you're doing, what is it that the private sector is doing, what is it that the development partners are doing, what are our priorities as the national government, so that we can read and act from one script and take this country forward. So the reason why I exist is to coordinate all focus on MSME, growth and development. We bring everybody on the table. You have very good ideas. We have innovators here who are young people. Sometimes they do not even know that financing opportunity exists. They do not even know that there is a market somewhere. So if we have a platform where everybody can know what is happening and leverage, collaborate like you put it, leverage on each other's efforts, then we will start quantifying our impact. Otherwise, this silo mentality approach has to stop. This is what we've been having for the last so many years. People are doing massive things. People are investing. Development partners are investing. But when you go now to a grassroots, you ask yourself, how come the level of poverty has always been stubborn? It's never coming down. It is because we don't create opportunities to leveraging on what somebody else is doing. We end up duplicating our efforts. We end up spending resources in a manner that we cannot count. So we exist to align all actors to this focus on MSME, but also to let you know that even if you don't reach out, we will reach out to you. We are that arm of the government that is concerned with the private sector development. So if you are a private sector, because if you are a social entrepreneur, partly you're a private sector. You need those profits to impact on people's lives. Indio? Or are you entrepreneurs for grants? How do you achieve sustainability then? But you're doing business knowing that you're solving a particular social problem. And Kenya requires social entrepreneurs more than anybody who are focused on helping us solving a particular problem. The government has gone further and identified key priority value chains, which we think in the next couple of years, next 5 years, next 10 years, if all of us looked around and mapped out opportunities, enterprise opportunities which are there, we are going to help create jobs, we are going to generate revenue, we are going to increase our exports, we are going also to realize industrialization across this country. Most of these value chains are in agriculture. We're now focusing on dairy, and I'm sure we come from areas where we're doing dairy. We want to invest to make sure we increase production. I know many people here have been able to see a few things being exhibited there as was coming in. But anytime we talk about entrepreneurs and MSMEs, people think they don't categorize farmers as entrepreneurs. We have not enterprise or farming. So what I'm telling you, we have opportunity to be even, you can be a social entrepreneur also in dairy farming. You will increase milk productivity and will make sure that our children that we are giving birth to, they don't, end up missing milk. See, you'll also be solving a problem, food security in a way, while also earning income. So looking at dairy, there's a huge market outside there in the region and in the continent. We are looking at leather value chain. We have massive opportunities, especially in counties that, do well in animal rearing. And by the way, we are number 4 in Africa in terms of rearing animal, and we are very good beef eaters. I think we must be number 1 in the continent. A Kenyan can eat a full mbuzi. Am I lying? Isn't that true? Yeah, we hammer these things. But what happened, at some point we fail to understand where those skins and hides, disappear. Nobody has seen a business out of it. So we end up again, for those people who have so many private sector that have invested in tanneries, but they don't have raw materials. So they keep on even importing things that we'll be doing ourselves. We have opportunities for edible oil. Edible oil in this country is the 2nd largest import. When you people are complaining about high inflation, it's high inflation because of over-reliance on importing the basic commodities. So edible oil is number 2 after petroleum. But the interesting thing is that the edible oil crop, so it's a question of how do you people as social entrepreneurs help us to mobilize those women, to mobilize those farmers, youth, put them in places. We give them financing. You will connect them to the market. We can get people to invest in them in machineries for value addition, and we'll earn income out of that. That will help us to reduce the importation, and we'll manage this, the issue of inflation that we are now severely experiencing. We're looking at rice production. Again, we have many areas in this country where we can do rice. Unfortunately, just a few months ago, we had to import rice and import maize. So we live where the river is, but you still come to Nairobi to look for a job. Instead of looking for, somebody to give you a few resources, which you are going also, I'm going to tell you how you will get it, and then turn that land around the river into rice farm. You'll earn more. As you look for a job here, you're also earning your income. So there are massive opportunities that are there. We are looking at building and construction, value chain. You see, our president is really committed in ensuring that we provide affordable housing in the major urban centers. In fact, even today, he has done groundbreaking of another project of affordable housing. So what do we want to achieve here? This will provide us an opportunity to bring or to employ our TVET graduates, but at the same time is also going to provide us an opportunity for Jua Kali people and artisans to supply building materials. Then we're looking at tea and cotton. These have been our traditional value chain. Sadly enough, we have lost that competitiveness. If you go outside there, like especially in Europe, you ask for tea, you can't even feel it. The kind of tea that is there has blended and reblended. It has even lost that taste of Kericho tea. Why is that happening? Is because you have not invested in value addition. You've seen what is happening in coffee plantation. Most of our farmers are uprooting coffee plantation in favor of real estate. And we are still agricultural economy. So we need to address those market failures, those gaps that are there. Because one time, they usually say that the real estate balloon will burst. So if we are not generating revenue to invest in those real estate, and we keep on, committing arable land into real estate, then we are looking into a future that is not so pleasant. So the government has to come in and put in some renewed focus in correcting that, to ensuring that our farmers for tea, for coffee, can get competitive prices for their produces and are encouraged. Lastly, we're looking at textile and garments. And textile and garments will have massive opportunity. Unfortunately, we have a problem with the production, the low production, the lack of raw materials. We keep on, negotiating the AGOA agreement to supply to the US market. But one of the conditions is that we must make sure that the textile we supply there must be from locally, raw material. But if we don't grow cotton, where are we going to get that? So because of that, the government has come in, this current administration is really focusing on those key value chains. In other words, I was happy when the lady launched the first baby. He said it was the first baby of Africa Academic Hub. And one of the point that really ignited that excitement in me was the aspect of research. So this is going to be very critical to enable us see how we can collaborate and research on opportunities that are available and then inform our population. Social entrepreneurs, you can pick on that. So we are not going to discriminate you from, our engagement. We go to work with you, and in that kind of partnership with the baby which you launched today, the first baby, I'm also there. Whether you like it or not, I'm there. Is it? The MSME is also there so that we can move together. So, lastly, ladies and gentlemen, allow me now, as protocol requires, to read this page. So, I'm delighted to join you this evening to address the 6th annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship, whose aim is to foster multi-sectoral collaboration for innovation and economic resilience for the African continent's long-term growth. At the outset, allow me to appreciate the organizers of this event for bringing together key actors in the change maker movement and providing a platform for sharing tools and frameworks, learning and appreciating the successful strides being made by social innovators across various fields. The conference is happening at an opportune moment when government in the region, and Kenya in particular, are putting a lot of efforts towards promoting a sustainable economy, creating jobs opportunities, and hope for the future of its citizens. Indeed, social entrepreneurship remains a key driver in unlocking the systemic and cultural challenges faced by communities arising from social barriers such as poverty and gender inequality. Despite the critical nature of social entrepreneurship, as demonstrated through this conference, social innovators continue to face major challenges, key among them being lack of adequate funding to support their ventures. Over time, some ventures flourish, but a vast majority of the ventures struggle to maintain their existence and sustainability due to lack of capital or ongoing sources of income. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to share with you today that the government of Kenya, under the leadership of His Excellency President Dr. William Samoei Ruto, remains committed to undertake more policy interventions which seek to address societal challenges faced more so by the vulnerable and underserved in the community, i.e. women, youth, and persons with disability. The renewed policy intervention by the Kenya Kwanza administration will provide communities with capacity to create sustainable, decent jobs and ensure equitable distribution of wealth among the population. Such an intervention is the Hustler Fund. You've heard about Hustler Fund, right? The Financial Inclusion Fund. And let me today just put it on record that the Financial Inclusion Fund, which is known as the Hustler Fund, first is not in any competition with any actor, especially the private sector. This intervention came about to correct two market failures. The first market failure was the fact that majority of the Kenyan population who are at the bottom of the economic pyramid were locked out of the economy due to barriers such as inability to access financing. These are the people who are informal, these are the people who are unbanked, who are unserved by any network. I appreciated there was a speaker who raised that issue, that if you are not in these networks, then you may not also get these opportunities to learn and collaborate. Economic growth of any country if majority of the people are locked out of the economic participation. So through Hustler Fund and the demonstration that through digital technology and digital innovation, we can be able to enable access to finance to people in every corner of this country, people probably who could be limited in terms of social capital or network, in itself is a demonstration of our willingness as the government to crowdsourcing as many people as possible to participate in our economy, and also to ease the burden at the top. Right now, you see there are a lot of conversation around taxation, and all those is happening because there are very few people at the top who are working, unfortunately, whom we have to depend to. And because, for example, there are basic sectors like education, like health, they have to thrive. So for them to thrive and to be funded, we people at the top, then we have to bear the brunt. But one way of doing that is to open up the economic space so that we have as many people as possible participating in. And to do that is to try and break the financial access barrier, and that's one market failure that the Hustler Fund is addressing. The second market failure that the Hustler Fund is correcting is that because of the pandemic, and which I know most social entrepreneurs really suffered, many people went under. Many people have found themselves in debt. And in this country, close to 6 million Kenyans had been listed in CRB. Once you are listed in CRB negatively, you are discredited. Your chances of ever getting credit becomes very much minimal. And even if today you are delisted, it will take you some time. That negative listing will still follow you up wherever you go to ask for credit. So because of that, the government had to come in. You can imagine an economy where 6 million entrepreneurs, 6 million MSMEs are locked out. It's only government which can correct. Correct by rehabilitating their negative credit score, seeing how we can make them positive. So the first thing that Hustler Fund we did was to bring together all the players. We brought telcos and all other actors, banks, commercial banks, who had experience in digital lending, and told them, we may be a poor country, but one of the things that we have innovated outside there and the world appreciates us is the mobile technology and mobile money banking. We are poor, but everybody all the time, praises us for that great innovation. So because of that, Kenyans might be poor, but they have a phone. Even if it's a feature phone, that one has really equalized us. You can have a smartphone, someone in the village has a feature phone, but the fact that you can talk, it has really equalized the Kenyan population. So how do we make use of that? So we brought them together. We told them our intention was to see how we can rehabilitate these people that had been blacklisted, see how we help them to again achieve positive credit rating, so that in the near future, we mainstream them or we integrate them back to the economy. So the problem that you're addressing there was the shrinking credit customer base. And whenever you have a shrinking credit customer base, is that nobody will buy newspaper, nobody will buy standard newspaper, because the money I used to buy standard newspaper, I will prioritize and buy something else. You see, so the consumption levels also become very low and the economy cannot grow. So in 5 months that Hustler Fund has existed, through the use of technology, we've been able to serve 20 million Kenyans in 5 months. In those 5 months, we've been able to disburse close to 28 billion. In those 5 months, they say Kenyans don't repay, but they repay. In those 5 months, the repayment that we see there is 18 billion. We have realized 18 billion in terms of repayment. In those 5 months, today we can stand here and say, indeed, out of the 20 million Kenyans, we have 7 million Kenyans who could be now entrepreneurs, most of them you, who borrow frequently, most of them on daily basis, do their business and repay. So we've been able to protect these Kenyans from digital predators, from predatory lending, from predatory saving. And we also social entrepreneur, because alongside that we are mindful about sustainability, and we are alive to challenges that make many entrepreneurs go down. For example, challenge number 1 is sickness. Whenever you are sick and you don't have an insurance card, you don't have what, you will sell everything you have. Even if it's project money, you will not think twice about it. If your relative equally sick, or if you lose your loved ones, you will dispose of everything. So what have we done? On that Hustle of Fund platform, when you borrow, 5% goes into your savings. Out of that 5%, 70% is to populate your pension. Because we realize that in the informal MSMEs, most of them don't have pay. Actually, majority of Kenyans are not on pension, only a few who are in formal employment. So that one is to give you social security in future, and also to give you financial security. The 30% of your saving, if you borrow from the Hustler Fund, is for short-term savings. You can invest now in medical insurance, get you a premium. I remember when we had conversation with NHIF, they told us, if you can be saving 17 bob every day, you know, for your medical, premium medical coverage, it will give you access to high quality facilities like Nairobi Hospital, Aga Khan, and at the same time there will be last expense, so that if you lose your relative, we don't have to bombard WhatsApp and asking people to contribute. So you can see we're also mindful of the social problems. So we are trying to ensure that there is social security and there is also sustainability. The other project that is being onboarded there is affordable housing. We know a number of MSMEs also suffer when it comes to rent. I know majority of us here, the moment it will hit 20-something of the month, we start getting worried. But again, with so many housing being set up across the country, gives you an opportunity to start saving, slowly take a mortgage. So I can be a boda and take a mortgage. I can be a mama mboga and take a mortgage. So there are those opportunities. So finally, I want to say that's just a model. And it's a model that all of us can rally around. Because whenever we come up with an intervention, we need to ask ourselves, what is the sustainability plan? Is it a one-off event? You enable someone and you don't really care about it. And then just to finalize my remarks, I want to say that I want to invite myself to the issue of voices. But I also want to amend that. And I say it's not about voices, it's about action. Action and efforts. So we need to make voices that can be actioned. And for us to realize that, we need to appreciate the urgency of solving problems that are affecting our people. And to the social entrepreneurs, if ever doubted where there is an idea for your business, and I hope, even as we come up with those business, we are designing them with a business mind. So if you're designing them with a business mind, it has to be a business that can withstand the test of time. So let's work together as we map out opportunities across those value chains, from the farming to the market. There are quite a number of opportunities in that value chain. We will be there, we'll be willing. Visitor can meet, you can invite us to your project. We'll help you, we'll give you business support that can make you grow your idea. And we want to see you rising from micro, small, medium, large, and even multinational companies. We give you access to financing, access to capacity building. And now that we are digital, we can even do training modules, which can be, which can be accessed through digital, through phones. We'll move with you, innovators who have very good plans. Let's see how we can work together, reading from the same script, and also acting together and delivering as one people for one nation and one continent. Thank you so much, and may the good God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam PS, for those great words. I love the tone, the calmness, and every point sinks. So another round of applause for Madam PS. So I'd like to invite Martha Mbuvi to come and give a vote of thanks on behalf of all of us.
Good evening, everyone. The Chief Guest, Honorable Susan Auma, a Permanent Secretary, State Department, Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise Development. Mr. Philip Lopokoyet, CEO, ICA Lion Group. Dr. Brother Jonas, IST Director, and Vincent Othiambo, all protocol observed. I want to give a vote of thanks to everyone for the success of this ACOSE 6 conference. I want to believe that all of us are witnesses of the great conversations that have taken place. And my take home is that actually we are not in competition, but we are in collaboration. And I think that is very, very important. So let me say my name is Martha Mbuvi, a PhD student at Tangaza University and a ACOSE Secretariat. I want to appreciate the following. I want to appreciate our chief guest, Honorable Susan Auma. I also want to appreciate our chief guest yesterday, Miss Mary Mwiti, the CEO, Council of Governors. I want to appreciate Mr. Philip Lopokoyet, CEO, ICA Lion Group. I want to appreciate the host community, that is Tangaza University. And I want to start by appreciating our acting VC, Father Leo Mwenda, academics and student affairs, Professor Jacinta Adhiambo. I want to appreciate the Dean of Social Sciences, Dr. Idel Wairimu. I want to appreciate the IST Director, Dr. Brother Jonas. I also want to appreciate the Ashoka Regional East Africa Director, Mr. Vincent Odhiambo. I want to appreciate all the speakers, the panelists, and the showcasers. The moderators, you've done a good job. We really appreciate you. We also want to appreciate our MC, Mr. Richard Kaketo and Abigail Ajuma. I also want to appreciate all the delegates, our international delegates from Ethiopia and Congo, our service providers, the photographers, the caterers, and also our coordinating team. And at this point, I would request the coordinating team to just stand from wherever they are. They have done a lot of a lot of work in the background. So kindly, if you're in the room and you're in the ACOSE Secretariat, just stand up and raise up your hand. We just want to appreciate you. Okay. I also want to appreciate the audience. I want to appreciate all of you for those 2 days that you've sat and listened. And I want to believe we've all gone home with something. Lastly but not least, and these I decided to bring at the end, are the partners and the sponsors. This would not have been a success without our partners and sponsors. And allow me to go through the list very fast. We have Faulu Kenya and the Old Mutual Group. We have CISP. We have the Standard Media Group, ICA Lion Group, Action Aid, Verona Huruma Sacco, Kingdom Bank, Wilken Group, Vilgro Africa, Madison Insurance Group, Trace Media, Weather Life, Making More Health, Wantanara Project, Ashoka's Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Initiative, Ashoka's Spiritually Inspired Change Making, AY&I. Now those are our partners and sponsors. I also want to appreciate the exhibitors. They made our compound look really beautiful. And I want to believe you've interacted with them and probably learned one or two things. So we have the MBA students, alumni. We have Sinapis, Kenya Export and Promotion and Branding Agency, the Nairobi Academy, Lumen Insurance Agency, Alive and Kicking, Kenya Community Development Foundation, Kenya Green World, in Komoko, Afya Center, Evangelization Sisters of Mary Mission, Ginkgo Africa, Philtech Kenya, Wanda B, Somo Africa, World Food Program, Akili Foods Limited, Women's Center for Entrepreneurship, Kenya Community, that one I'm repeating, Kenya and French Red Cross, Austria Red Cross, Zana Africa, World Food Program, Light Up Impact, Mshamba, Africa Collective Textiles, Somo Africa, and Young Scientists Kenya. So I want to appreciate all of you and kindly give yourself a hand clap for the good work for the team. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Martha. I'd like now to invite Sister Victoria from the Congregation of the Incarnate Word. Sister Victoria, are you here? Welcome. We started with a prayer. We will close with a prayer. Sister Victoria is also a PhD student in the Institute for Social Transformation, so we are training transformers.
Let us all rise and have a word of prayer. Almighty, ever-living God, thank you for your presence in these 2 days of our conference. Thank you for the collaboration between Ashoka and Institute of Social Transformation, Tangaza University College. Thank you for the gift of all the other collaborators. And thank you for the inspirations that have been shared here, all for your greater glory. Today, we have learned that in all our activities, in all our transformative changes, we have to have God first. As we leave this room, in all that we have shared, in all that we are intending to do, in all the aspirations that we are going to carry out after this 6th ACOSE conference, let us put God first and let Him lead us so that we may bring to fulfillment all that is ahead of us, all that we need to bring for the greater transformation of this world. Let's pray for our countries and for our continent and for the global world at large, that God's blessings may be upon us as we move together to bring transformative change in our society. And we ask all this through Christ our Lord.
Thank you very much, sister, for that great prayer. As we dismiss good people, Brother Jonas tells me he has prepared some tea and snacks for you. Don't leave them behind. It will be antisocial if we don't enjoy that meal. And we are pleased to have hosted you. Augustine Richard Kaketo is my name, and my colleague